Welcome to Behind the Mic, a podcast from the Concrete Foundations Association featuring discussions with some of the leading professionals in today's concrete industry. This series features interviews recorded at the World of Concrete 2020 conference in Las Vegas. And in this episode, Rex McGrath discusses the importance of safety in the concrete industry, particularly focusing on OSHA's silica regulations. Let's jump right in.
Welcome back to the podcast. It is our final day here at World of Concrete 2020 in Las Vegas. And it's always the lighter day, the lightest day of the week, Friday. Everybody's worn out. A lot of them have gone home. But it gives me an opportunity to connect with people that in the course of the daily business throughout the week, it's maybe harder for us to spend any time with each other. One of my passions for you concrete contractors is safety, and I do a lot of advocacy work with OSHA. I found myself this morning being introduced to Rex McGrath. He's the outside technical sales in the Western region for Sundstrom Safety out of Rhode Island, and also home-based in Sweden. And so I thought I'd sit down with him for a few minutes and talk to you guys about OSHA silica and some safety issues. Rex, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, James. Glad to be here. Excited.
Yeah, so you've given me a little background on yourself, and you've been in and around World of Concrete in the past.
Yes.
What do you think of World of Concrete this year?
It's amazing how much it grows. I think the first time I came here, of course, the tram stopped at the South Hall. Now it goes all the way up 2 more blocks up the street. So concrete and construction is still happening in Las Vegas. For people who have a chance to have been here and see the size of this industry, it's amazing. And I think it's double when I first came here. Yeah, double. 66,000 people, right, attend each year. Is that sound about right?
Yeah, that's about right. And it ebbs and flows a little bit. This is like a ConExpo year, so it might be down just a tad bit. But yeah, I think the average is in that 65, maybe 70 on a good year. But it is a big show, and it's spread out.
Yes.
You've got a lot of work walking ahead of you.
We're getting our steps in, that's for sure.
Yeah. How many concrete contractors have you had a chance to interact with this week?
225
Okay.
in our lead generation that we've had, which is great. I think last year we were like at 150.
Okay.
We're over in the North Hall in the technical section, so we're kind of at the very end of the show, if you will. But for people who are seeking us out as they're understanding the silica regulations coming into effect and looking for solutions to protect our workers.
Right. So a lot of our listeners may be freshly introduced to silica regulation as we sit here and talk. How does that feel in the booth to you? Are you still integrating with contractors that maybe haven't been attuned into it yet?
This year is pretty much, now's the year. We're talking about getting them. I want to be in compliance for my guys. We've heard that a lot more than what's standard.
Right.
In the past it's been that. So the awareness is there.
Okay.
And I think it's making the right choices for your guys to pick the right job, to help the right tool for that job.
Right.
Yeah.
So from a manufacturer's perspective, and we'll get into your system, I'm really interested in your system. We had a chance to talk about it a little bit, but from a manufacturer's perspective, how difficult do you guys feel the OSHA regulation on silica is for contractors to implement?
It's pretty straightforward. I mean, from my standpoint, you're talking about particulate matter, which is a HEPA problem. We call it a HEPA filter. So a HEPA filter will stop anything above 3 microns. Mm-hmm. So that's about a third the width of a human hair. So for us, it's dust, right?
Right.
So we didn't really have to do anything engineering-wise to create a product to protect guys. It's always been available. It's now the adoption phase of getting the worker to understand, this is an exposure that's going to hurt me over time. Cumulative exposure over time is the danger to my health.
Right. And
getting them to implement the safety problem. I'm sure at one time there was a time when guys didn't want to wear hard hats. Mm-hmm. And then it takes time. So that's where we are. And our solutions are simple of use, great breathability. We actually market our products in a kit so the guy can go to the store, get everything he needs in one kit, one purchase, one item. You don't have to worry about matching up filters with certain masks. So it's very straightforward from Sundstrom. Yeah.
So part of our opportunity here as you and I talk is really some education and stepping contractors forward. Let's assume, and I know many contractors that just have not been able to put the time in to understand the regulation and know what their steps are. And so first of all, we're talking about silica regulation. It was introduced by OSHA just a couple of years ago, now a mandatory requirement for control. And the whole purpose is NIOSH's advisory that silicosis is causing a lot of American workers to perish.
Right.
And which is, in your terms, how would you describe silicosis to our listeners?
Well, silica is in it's a natural element. Mm-hmm. So it's in concrete, it's in stone, it's in granite, it's in quartz. So as you're cutting or breaking down those compounds, you're creating dust. You inhale silica dust into your lungs, it crystallizes in the lungs, and over time that exposure builds up, your lungs begin to solidify, and you can't breathe. So similar to lung cancer, it's not a one-time event, it's going to be this event over time building up. Silicosis has been a problem since the 30s. If you guys, I know they did a movie back in the 30s about some tunnel workers who did a tunnel. They went through granite, and something crazy, the death rate at the end of the project was like 80 or 90%.
Wow.
So the U.S. government actually did a movie about that, stopping silicosis, and it's always been known that it's a problem. Stonemasons have always had issues with their breathing. The OSHA regulation came into effect from an enforcement standpoint, I believe, in June this summer.
Right.
So they had a year of educate yourself, and lots of great companies are making filters, HEPA-Vacs, water attachments, engineering out the problem. And that's really the first thing a company should look at. Can we engineer out the problem? And then the last step is PPE. Get the right personal protective equipment for this job.
Right.
And then it comes down, so the application end would be, what can a guy wear that he feels allows him to breathe, allows him to be protected and do his work? And that's where the design of our products at Sunstrom, we have a unique design to our masks and our filters. We're very great breathability, the lowest breathability on the market, meaning you'll spend a lot less energy as you're working with a Sunstrom mask than you would with another competitive mask.
Right. And so from a contracting perspective, awareness, it starts there. Now there is a regulation, you've got to do something about it. And so the first thing you begin doing is you begin tackling your systems. You look at where is airborne silica likely to be present. That starts from something as simple as sweeping up, right?
Correct.
We get sand on the slab, post cleanup, post forming, and you've got to get rid of that. So tools is the first thing, and there's an entire environment here at World of Concrete that's built around the tools associated, the gathering systems. But now you're talking about breathing control and breathing protection, and so we're amping that up a little bit. One thing I know about the silica regulation is Table 1 is what everybody is beginning to learn, you look at first. So tell our listeners just a little bit about the use of Table 1 and how that gets to this issue of breathing systems and control.
Okay, so when you look at Table 1, there's 16 tasks or activities on Table 1, and OSHA is giving you guidance on what safety precautions you need to take if you're doing that task. So of that 16 tasks, there's about 7 that would require an APR, a respiratory protection, if you will, outside of the engineering tools. So the contractor needs to look at what he does. Let's say he's drilling in, he's a demo guy, he's going to be drilling into walls for jackhammering, whatever.
Right.
So it'll say if you're drilling in there in an enclosed space, you need to have dust control in place with the tool. If you're outside, then you need to have dust control in place. So the regulation is based on how long you're doing it, usually based on 4 hours.
Right.
Above or below 4 hours is a consideration, and also inside or outside.
Right.
And then as you go down the list, it'll say, for instance, I'm looking at a chart right now, and we have them on our website. A lot of the other respiratory manufacturers have them on their website, a copy of Table 1. So familiarize yourself with that and see what jobs you're doing. So for instance, if you're doing like tuck pointing or mortar removal, which is one of the more dangerous jobs out there,
right,
because the composition of mortar itself has a lot of silica, you need to wear an APR with an assigned protection factor of 10. So what they're saying, anytime you're doing that work, you need to at least have that half mask. When I say APR, I'm talking about a tight-fitting silicone respirator with a HEPA cartridge. So these aren't dust masks. A dust mask is a assigned protection factor of 5.
Okay.
So want to make sure now any brand that's NIOSH approved would meet that standard. So then it comes down to comfort and wearability.
So one of the misconceptions that are out there from contractors is exposure duration, and that maybe the silica regulation doesn't apply to them because, hey, I don't really expose myself for that many consistent hours.
20 minutes, yes.
20 minutes, 30 minutes,
Yeah.
45 minutes, take a break, go eat lunch, come back, hit it again.
Yeah.
But it's built up over time is really the big concern
That's
here,
the
right?
danger for the worker's health, yeah, because there's a little bit every day, right? And
Right.
as you're laying it down, it builds up. And I've talked to gentlemen who are in their late 30s. It's 4 years of cutting granite countertops, and all of
Right.
a sudden the guy feels like he can't breathe.
Right.
Are you getting older, or is it exposure
Right.
over time, right?
Right.
It's something I think we need to address the mindset that at the least you should be wearing an N95 dust mask. There's no good dust in construction.
Right.
If we could
Right.
agree to that, right?
Right.
So if there's no good dust, but N95 gives me some protection against that. But when you're exhaling with an N95, and these are the masks everybody sees on TV right now with the coronavirus, it's good protection. It's not great protection. The next step up is a tight-fitting respirator, what we call an APR.
Right.
A tight-fitting respirator fits closer to the skin, so the skin to silicone contact is better, a better seal, and then all of the exhalation is going in and out of the filter system.
Right.
That gives you the best protection. And then the next step up from there would be a powered air purifier, which is like a fan unit you would wear. Where now you have a fan pulling that air through the HEPA filters for you and pushing it into a headpiece. Could be a construction-rated hard hat, could be a hood. A lot of guys see these like in sandblasting. That's a great solution for a contractor because A, you don't have to fit test your guys. B, you spend no energy on actually breathing, and it's shareable. So you could get 2 or 3 sets, and then Jamie when Rex are wearing it today, we clean it out. It's a waterproof product, and we give it to somebody else tomorrow. So it's a more of an upfront cost for that, but that's the greatest protection because as we look around here at the show, there's lots of beards, and this is a way to keep your guys happy and protected because the face piece encapsulates the beard.
Right.
It's higher pressure inside the face piece, and if there's any breakage, the high pressure escapes.
Right.
And that pushes the dust and particulate matter out. Yeah.
Well, this is a very active industry that we serve, and a lot of our listeners, I won't say all of our listeners, but a lot of them are in cast-in-place concrete, so it's very high-level physical activity. And so breathing is really important fitness, right? And you talked to me a little bit earlier about your first introduction to this system and what you challenged it. Tell me a little bit about how you put it through some tests.
Well, so we've all experienced APRs, and it's breathing through straws is one way I think about it, because to filter the air, we need to constrict the airflow. So when I was looking at Sunstrom and coming on board, I took one of their masks and I went for a bike ride. They said, we have the easiest breathing mask on the market. And I said, okay, let's try this out. So I have experience with the gas masks, and I know what it feels like to wear these products. And it's the way it's designed, because you have one large filter. And guys, you can look at our product at srsafety.com. You can look at the mask. It's a different design than some of our competitors. But the one large filter and a large inhalation port with 2 exhalation ports is when you exhale, there's twice as much room for your exhale to leave the mask. That lowers the breathing resistance, as opposed to the other way around, where you have 2 small inhalation ports and 1 small exhalation port. CO builds up inside the mask.
Right.
So that's really the thing. And the more you're going to breathe, and we've tested our mask at 3 respiration levels, very low resistance. If it's extremely physical work, or if your workers aren't in the best shape, again, this is where a powered air purifier, a PAPR, makes sense, because now it's blowing the air for him. Right. And the powered air purifiers have been around for a long time. Rechargeable batteries, they move a lot of air, between 6 and 8 cubic feet of air. And there's sensors in there. Well, they'll ramp up the fan based on the exertion level, or also based on how the filter's doing. So that's great technology for somebody who values his workers and wants to just get in compliance with silica and not really have any problems.
Well, I certainly have personal experience with the challenge of breathability. And so I know when a silica regulation or something like this comes along and we start talking about, well, you got to wear masks, the first thing you do is you go to your local Ace Hardware and you think, well, I'm just going to buy those fiber masks that are on the shelf. I happened to do that. I had an attic that I had to remove all my fiberglass insulation, and so I just bought a stack of those. But you wear those after about 25 minutes in fiberglass flying through your attic. It's coated. You can't breathe through it. And so this system is really contributing to the exhaling of the carbon dioxide so that the workers can stay fit and stay active.
Right. Listen, if you look at let's just sort of take back and look at the Ace Hardware.
Yeah. So
you walk in, you're going to see the dust mask. You have a 1-strap dust mask. You put it on, you got the little bendy guy over the nose.
That was the one.
That's okay. But when you use that and when you exhale, especially if you're working hard, that whole mask is bouncing off your face as you're breathing out. Then the next step for that is companies make a same paper mask, but there'll be a filter on it. Not a filter, I'm sorry, an exhalation valve, little plastic rectangle.
Kind of sitting right in the middle.
Yep. So what that's supposed to do is open up when you exhale to let that air out and keep the rest of the mask on the face.
Okay.
That's another solution, but still it's an N95. It's what I mean by N95 is it's going to filter out 95% of particles above 3 microns. Okay.
Right.
The next step is a tight-fitting respirator, an APR with a HEPA filter, and HEPA operates at 99.97% filtration.
Okay.
So again, it won't get in a chemical, and it won't get anything smaller than 3 microns, but it'll get 99.97% of those things that are 3 microns or bigger.
Right.
That's kind of the benchmark. And so ask yourself, do you want to breathe in 5% of the bad stuff or not at all? So that's the first delineation point, I would say, for a contractor. We're going to use a HEPA filter.
Right.
Now it is the design of the mask. So again, if try out a Sunstrom mask, we're available from all the major industrial distributors. But you look at our product with our large inhalation valve, and it's a single canister right in the front and 2 exhalation valves on the side. It makes it very easy, and that mask stays in place. Mm-hmm. But if you're the boss man and you issue that as a safety product to your team, there's certain regulations you have to follow. Right. So a respiratory protection program is a pretty straightforward process. What you're going to do, and it can be as simple as a one page, is we're going to use this respirator. Mm-hmm. You have to name the brand that you're using. You have to train your guys on it annually, and you have to fit test them, and you have to tell them why you're using it. Okay. And all the companies have these guidelines that you can download off their website and fill it in yourself. Right. So the fit test proves to the worker and to the management that mask fits that guy, that if he's trained in how to wear it, and when he's wearing it, he doesn't have any leaks. So there's 2 processes in fit testing. One's called qualitative, one called quantitative. Usually these processes cost about between $30 and $45, depending where you are. You also have to do a medical test. Okay. Does the guy have the ability, the pulmonary ability to respirate and breathe with a mask on? Okay. So that, and then you're set to go. Now the other way is for the individual workers out there, you can buy your own mask and bring it to work. And as long as your boss isn't telling you to wear it and you're going to wear it because you want to protect yourself, that's a way you just have to decide. You can decide yourself, and you can know what a good fit is. You can Google or look on YouTube how to self-test so you have a good respirator fit. But you guys know, you put it on, you plug up the exhalation valve, you inhale, and the mask should collapse and be tight on your face for 10 seconds.
Okay. So
long as it stays tight on the face for 10 seconds, this is very similar, just like sucking the air out of a water bottle and put your hand over the top. That's exactly the idea.
Right.
Then you have a good fit. So again, if you bring it yourself to work, the boss doesn't have to do a fit test for you. When the boss says, hey, this is our part of our PPE program, then he has to follow that lead. Okay. So the nice thing about this is, from a management standpoint, if you're giving your guys respirators, you know that they mean something. They're important. Their health is important to you. Right. The team is important. And it's pretty straightforward. Any of the good manufacturers of respiratory products will help with this program, can do a training, can help you write the right program. The third component of that is chemicals. If you're using paints or sealants, whatever it is, you look at the safety data sheet, it'll tell you on there, hey, using this product, we suggest you use this type of respirator. And then you go to a color-coded system for chemicals. I don't know if you want to get into that, but it's the one thing I will say about chemical cartridges, they're all the same. The colors, yellow, black, green, all have the same meaning across all the manufacturers. So if you're switching from one brand to the next, a black organic vapor cartridge from Sunstrom is the same as a black organic vapor cartridge from another manufacturer. Right. So that's it from an APR standpoint. Okay. Then the next step up would be the powered air purifier. We've talked about the PAPR, right, which again, because it's a loose fitting headpiece, and that's kind of a technical term, tight fitting face pieces need fit testing, loose fitting headpieces, no fit testing. Okay. They cost more, but then again, for the bearded ones, and I think it's a better choice because it's blowing the air for you, and they're great.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So oftentimes when regulations hit the marketplace for you listeners, it really can be seen as making your job more complex, right? Or the risk is not in the exposure. The risk is, how am I going to implement this, and where am I going to find the time to learn about that? So that's one of the reasons why today and this opportunity with Rex is so important, I think. And so Rex, if we look at the simplicity of dividing listeners into 2 categories. One would be the workers, and you've addressed that there's a pack that they can buy. I believe you said Whitecap is one of the...
Whitecap has it, yep. Yeah, Granger, Fastenal, Airgas, yep. All the big guys, and then lots of local guys.
And for you workers out there, now you may be employed by a company that just hasn't had the time to get around to this yet. And I was telling Rex earlier about some exposure experience that I had, a contractor that was saw cutting a back patio in our neighborhood. And the owner was out there watching, and a worker was out there watching, and the concrete contractor, the owner of the concrete contracting company, was saw cutting the slab. And so there's this huge dust. There's no water control. There's no air filters on the machine itself. There's no mask that any of the 3 of them are wearing. And so a conscientious worker, that's great to hear that your company provides a kit that a worker can say, listen, I get that my employer's not out there, but I really am concerned about silica. I can go do this for myself.
Correct. Yep.
And so then the other half of our listeners, let's assume, is the owners. And what are those simple steps? And so I appreciate your digesting the fit testing that's out there. But the key to this really is making the decision to realize that silicosis is real.
Right.
And it's the right thing to do. Rex, one of the things we've talked a lot about on this podcast is labor's the single biggest risk out there for concrete contractors right now. Not enough guys want to work, and you don't want to lose the workers
Right.
that you do have. Success stories that you've seen so far through your systems?
Yeah, well, I would, with the marketing of our kit, so basically it's called the Silica Kit from Sunstrom. It comes in 3 sizes, has a HEPA filter, 10 pre-filters. So essentially there's enough product in there to last you up to 40 hours of continuous use, let's say.
Without cleaning?
Without cleaning.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's this filter that I'm holding right here?
Yeah. So our HEPA filter comes with 201 square inches of material.
Wow.
The thing about a HEPA filter is it's always going to filter out at that 3 micron level, right? So if you imagine the air filter on your car, it can get super dirty and your car's not going to run right because it can't pull the right amount of air through the filter.
Right.
But the filter is still filtering. I hope that makes sense,
It does,
right?
yeah. I hear
So what we do with our pre-filters is a small piece of filter material you put over the HEPA filter. That's what you change out every day. When I say day, I mean 8 hours. That thing gets discolored, gray, brown, toss that, and that'll protect the HEPA filter. Our testing is the HEPA filter lasts 20% longer than our competition, so 4 to 6 weeks. But again, when it's all in that kit, and this includes a cleaning wipe, it includes the instructions in 11 languages, including pictures. Since we're Swedes, so IKEA.
We'll buy it. Right.
And then after you get the kits, it's a crush-proof box. Then you can just go back to that same supply house and buy a new filter or buy pre-filters. That's really what it's all based around. And now I think about adoption. And when I think about adoption of safety programs, I'm going to date myself here, Dave, but the movie Backdraft.
Oh, I
Kurt
love
Russell,
the movie.
Right?
Right.
Bull, right?
Right.
Chicago Fire Department. Love those guys. Kurt Russell was the only guy who didn't wear an SCBA.
Okay.
And the rookie wore the SCBA. Remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I used to work for MSA, and they would talk about that 20-year period where we don't need safety. We're firefighters.
Right.
But fast forward to today, unfortunately, the leading cause of death for firefighters is cancer. Now firefighters have 2 sets of turnouts. Everything's super clean. You no longer wear dirty gear because they've understood that being dirty and being macho is not so good for your health. Right? And it's not that the company relies on you, but your wife, your kids, your extended family, they also rely on you to live a long life. Sunstrom's motto is keep breathing. And we believe if we can help the world and help employees and employers clean the breath they're inhaling so they can do that, that's a great message for our business. Keep breathing is a motto we have in all of our literature.
Right.
That's what it's all about.
Well, and I think we certainly look at the catastrophic side of it, which is loss of life, cancer, silicosis leading to death,
Yes.
inability to work. But there's also a productivity side to this, I would assume.
Yeah.
And that is, as you're working through your 8-hour day or whatever the number of hours you're working, the inability of breathing to breathe really shortens your power, your consistent ability to work, right? Your stamina.
You're right. Your stamina, your ability, the ability to produce work. So if you have guys who their job is, whatever the job is, if he's tired, he's not making good decisions at that point, then maybe he gets dizzy. There's a lot of confounding factors around here. And again, we're talking about over time, guys, that put that APR on today so you'll be able to work tomorrow and be there around for your family as well. Again, it's just like when I would do drywall, and I was called them drywall boogers, right?
Exactly.
When I was a young man and would work, and then we'd go play basketball afterwards. Sort of got to clean out the pipes a little bit.
Right.
It's the same kind of idea, but with silica, it's deeply inside your lungs, and you can't clean it out.
Cannot get it out.
Right. So if you were to start to run, that first 20 minutes, you're cleaning out the pipes, and now you're respirating at an athletic level, and you're feeling good about yourself. We want to make sure that you protect your lungs through getting a good APR and keep breathing.
I think the other thing that I'd remind our listeners is that unlike nicotine, once silica gets in your lungs, you can't get it out.
Correct.
Your lungs do not recover from silica the way that they can from nicotine and other airborne
Right.
carcinogens.
It actually crystallizes around the silica in the lungs and creates a hard nodule.
Right.
That may not be the right term, but it basically, the more you're exposed, the less capacity you have.
Right.
As opposed with smoke or nicotine or tar, the silica in our lungs is able to, over time, push that out of our body with phlegm and coughing. So you're right. You can come back from a lifetime of smoking until you get cancer.
Right.
But with silica, they get in there and it's the exposure over time. So why expose yourself to that?
Absolutely.
A lot of what we saw outside, some of these guys, they're truly artists and what they're creating, the finishes, and I was talking to a guy on the bus coming in the other day, and he was saying, concrete has been around forever. And I'm like, yeah, the Romans.
Exactly.
So it's a kind of a simple product, which will be around forever. So do your best to make sure you can stay around as long as your projects.
Right, and you concrete contractors, particularly cast and place contractors, there's a lot of areas of your business. Check out Table 1. You can download it from OSHA.
Yep.
The regulation is 1926. I believe it's 1153. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, 1926, 1153, and you can get Table 1. You can look at your processes, and you can find that whether you're pulling forms and you're trying to grind the slurry down in the seams between forms, if you're cleaning up, a lot of you are drilling holes and epoxying anchors into your walls, saw cutting openings, core drilling the
Yes.
walls. All of these are areas, patching and grinding,
Yes.
that you really need to be concerned about, and we want you guys to be safe. You can find more about Sunstrom and get in touch with Rex McGrath from their website, which is www.srsafety.com.
srsafety.com. When you go there, just click on the American flag because we are an international company.
Yep.
For you larger guys out there, we are able to support work all over the world. We have distribution all over the world. All of our products meet the current U.S. standards, and then, of course, they meet the applicable standards in other continents. Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I appreciate your time today and helping bring this not just relevant, but very important and essential safety message to our workers. We want you guys to be safe. Rex wants you to be safe. I want you to be safe. We are also going to hopefully be able to integrate you to our convention. And if you want hands-on experience, if you weren't able to come to World of Concrete and meet with Sunstrom, maybe check us out later on as we start to reveal who's going to be at our own convention, and maybe there'll be a chance to see Rex there.
Looking forward to it.
Rex, a good rest of the World of Concrete for you, and we'll look forward to catching up with you down the road, if not World of Concrete next year.
Yes, sir.
All right. Catch another one of our podcasts coming up. There'll be more for you, and this is the end of our podcast for World of Concrete 2020. I'm James Beatty, Concrete Foundations Association.
Behind the Mic is brought to you by the Concrete Foundations Association. You can learn more about us and about becoming one of our #CFA Concrete Pros by visiting our website, cfaconcretepros.org. If you're a concrete professional interested in being part of a future podcast, reach out to us by email to info@cfaconcretepros.org to start a conversation. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Behind the Mic.